Lecture 19. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the Virtual University's course on Business and Technical Communication. While in the last lesson, we looked at how to write direct requests, in today's lecture, we'll look at how to write routine, good news and goodwill messages. In this lecture, we will learn to decide when to write a routine, good news or goodwill message, when is it appropriate to write such a message. We'll also look at how to adjust the basic organizational pattern to fit the type of message that you are writing. What is the organization of a routine good news, goodwill message, and how will you adjust the basic organizational pattern of a message to your purpose. We'll also add resale and sales promotion material when appropriate and look at how to do that. Also, we'll look at how to encourage the reader to take any desired action that you want them to take. Obviously, when you're writing any message, there are times when you want the reader to take some action based on your message, and there are times when there is no action desired. So if there is an action desired, then we will look at how you can encourage that action to be prompt and forthcoming. We'll also look at how to write credit approvals and recommendation letters, and how to use the correct form for such specialized messages as instructions, news releases, and goodwill letters. Now, when we talk of organizing positive messages, we need to keep in mind that most business communication consists of messages that present neutral information or messages that answer requests positively and establish better relationships. So you'll probably get a lot of practice composing these routine good news and goodwill messages, because they are really what you will be involved or engaged in most in your business life. And understanding how positive messages are organized allows you to compose excellent messages quickly and promptly. So once you get a basic understanding of the organization of goodwill messages, then it will not be a problem for you as you are engaged in writing them in a routine, and you'll be able to write your messages, convey your information, convey the desired action very effectively. Of course, intercultural positive messages are best when organized according to the audience's needs. अगर आप कोई मैसेज दे रहे हैं जो कि आपने किसी ऐसे इंसान ने पढ़ना है जो किसी और कल्चर से बिलोंग करता है, तो फिर आपको ये ख्याल रखना होगा कि जो भी आपका मैसेज है वो आपके ऑडियंस के नीड्स के हिसाब से हो और उनके कल्चरल नॉर्म्स फॉलो करता हो, ना कि आपके कल्चरल नॉर्म्स फॉलो करे. But when you're communicating with a US, American or Canadian audience whose cultural differences are very minimal, then you will use the direct plan. If you're looking at American audiences, North American audiences, whether they are in the US or in Canada, then they don't have a lot of cultural differences amongst them. So you will write your message in a direct way to keep in mind their culture. And also you need to keep in mind that whether your message is oral or written, positive messages begin with a clear statement of the main idea. They then move on to clarify any necessary details, and then they close with a courteous close. They end with a courteous close. So there are three basic sections to a routine goodwill message. The first is a statement of the main idea. Second section is the detail, and the third section is a courteous close. Let's look at the clear statement of the main idea. जो सबसे पहला हमारा एक गुडविल मैसेज का सेक्शन है जो कि मेन आइडिया है, देखते हैं कि वो क्या है. Now we know that all business messages have two basic purposes. The first is to convey information. किसी को कोई information मुहैया करनी हो, वो एक उसका मकसद है business message लिखने का. And secondly, to produce in the audience a favorable or at least an accepting response or attitude. दूसरा मकसद ये है कि जो भी पढ़ने वाले हैं वो आपका मैसेज पढ़ के उनका जो भी रिस्पॉन्स हो वो पॉजिटिव हो, वो फेवरेबल हो. एंड once you know that you have these two purposes, then you need to begin your message with a clear statement of the main idea. ये तो हो गया आपका पर्पस कि आपने इंफॉर्मेशन देनी है और आप चाहते हैं कि आपकी जो भी इंफॉर्मेशन है, जो भी आपके मैसेज में आप पैगाम दे रहे हैं वो फेवरेबली एक्सेप्ट हो, अब आप अपना मेन आइडिया स्टेट करेंगे. एंड basically when you're beginning your message with a main idea, you are actually preparing your audience for what is to follow. आप उनको थोड़ा सा prepare कर रहे हैं कि अब इस मैसेज में ये आएगा. एक उनको आप शुरू में एक हिंट दे रहे हैं, एक समरी स्टेटमेंट दे रहे हैं. So therefore it's important, because you are preparing your audience for what is to follow, it's important that you make your statement and your opening clear and concise. It should be there should be no ambiguity in what is to be stated, and also it should not be very long. अगर बहुत लंबी ओपनिंग स्टेटमेंट होगी तो ऑडियंस को उसमें से एग्जैक्ट डिटेल या एग्जैक्ट मेन आइडिया ढूंढने में या समझने में मुश्किल होगी. Let's have a look at two introductory statements which are basically making the same point, but one clutters up the main idea while the other one presents the main idea in a more concise manner because it's brief and to the point. Instead of saying, I am pleased to inform you that after deliberating the matter carefully, our personnel committee has recommended you for appointment as a staff accountant, it would be better to say, you've been selected to join our firm as a staff accountant beginning March 20th. Now, the meaning in both the statements is the same, but in the first statement, it's a very long statement, nearly double the size of the second statement. And the writer gets to the point at the end of the statement rather than at the beginning of the statement. Whereas in the second statement, the writer gets to the point immediately, gives all the necessary information and ends the opening statement there. The next section will have the details of the appointment, and that would be it. Now, how would these details be laid out? How would these details be organized? The middle part of good news, routine, goodwill message is typically the longest section of such a message. ज़ाहिर है जब हमने शुरू में तो सिर्फ एक ओपनिंग स्टेटमेंट दे दी, अब जो सारी डिटेल है वो मिडिल सेक्शन में आएगी, इसलिए वो मिडिल सेक्शन जो है वो सबसे लंबा होगा. Your reasons for communicating can usually be expressed in a sentence or two, but you'll need more space or time to explain your point completely so that your audience will have no confusion or lingering doubt. So whatever you have, when you've stated something in your main idea, in your opening, you will use more time, more space to explain whatever it is that you're saying, so that there are no confusions in the audience's mind. Now, when you're providing necessary detail, the task is easiest when you're responding to a series of questions. अगर कुछ आपसे आपके पढ़ने वाले ने पहले से कुछ सवालात पूछे हों और आप उनका जवाब दे रहे हैं, या आपको ख्याल है कि आपके पढ़ने वालों के दिमाग में ये सवाल उभरेंगे और आप पहले से उनका जवाब दे रहे हैं, तो सबसे आसानी उसमें ये होती है कि आप उनको एक लिस्ट के तौर पे लिख लें. So if you putting them down as a list or as a numbered, especially as a numbered list, it becomes easiest to tackle all the issues, all the necessary details that you are going to be looking at in your middle section. In addition to providing details in the middle section, you also need to maintain the supportive tone that you established in the beginning. When a routine message must convey mildly disappointing information, put the negative answer into a favorable context or into as favorable a context as possible. अगर आपको लगे कि जो इन्फॉर्मेशन आप दे रहे हैं उसमें कुछ ऐसा एलिमेंट है कि आपके पढ़ने वाले डिसअपॉइंट हो या उनको कुछ अफसोस हो ये खबर सुन के, तो फिर आप उसको फेवरेबली बात बताएं, उसमें ये दिखाएं कि उसमें उनका क्या फ़ायदा है, ना कि जो नेगेटिव न्यूज़ है वो आप सबसे पहले बताएं. Let's have a look at an example where one way of giving mildly disappointing news would be to say, no, we no longer carry this sports girl line of sweaters, if that is what the customer has asked for. Now, this statement is very direct, it's very blunt, but it's also disappointing to the person who has requested this brand. However, instead of this, you could write, the new Olympic line has replaced the sports girl sweaters that you asked about. Olympic features a wider range of colors and sizes, more contemporary styling. Now here you're giving the same information, saying that the sports girl line is no longer available, but you're giving the audience an alternative, and you're giving them a favorable news that that will make them feel good, and that will at least give them an alternative rather than giving them a blunt negative answer. A bluntly negative explanation here, as you saw, was replaced by a more complete description that emphasized how the audience could benefit from the change. However, you need to be careful that you are not using negative information. Be careful though. You can use negative information in this type of message only if you're reasonably sure that the audience will respond positively to your message. If you feel that the audience will not respond positively to what you're saying, then you need to modify the negative information that you're giving out. Because remember, as we talked about earlier, one main purpose of writing a routine goodwill message is to make sure that your audience responds positively towards you and has a positive attitude towards you. So it's important that your courteous close conveys the true courtesy that needs to be extended to your audience. Your message is most likely to succeed if your audience is left with the feeling that you have their personal welfare in mind. In addition, your courteous close will also include any follow-up action that is required. So you need to state clearly who will do what, and also, if possible, when it will be done. So if you are required to take any action, then you need to state that in your courteous close, and if your reader is required to take any action, then you need to clarify that as well. Now, coming to acknowledgement orders, which is another key kind of a message that you use in your business situations. You get orders, and a lot of the times you need to acknowledge them. An order acknowledgement is unnecessary, however, if products are being shipped or the services will be provided immediately. Because if the service is being provided immediately, then you don't really need to acknowledge that order. If you have received that order through a written order, you just then confirm when the service will be provided and you provide it. Acknowledgement orders are acknowledgements for orders are appropriate for large orders, first orders and orders that cannot be filled right away. अब जाहिर है अगर एक बहुत बड़ा आपको ऑर्डर आया है तो फिर आपको उसको एक्नॉलेज करना होगा. अगर कोई ऑर्डर ऐसा आया है जो पहली बार किसी कंपनी ने या किसी क्लाइंट ने आपके साथ ऑर्डर प्लेस किया, उसको भी आप एक्नॉलेज करेंगे क्योंकि आपने अपनी गुडविल उनके साथ अभी नई इस्टेब्लिश करनी है. और अगर कोई ऐसा ऑर्डर है जो आप फ़ौरन नहीं फिल कर सकते या आप फ़ौरन वो चीज़ें मुहैया नहीं कर सकते, तो तब आप उसको एक्नॉलेज करेंगे ताकि जो आपकी ऑडियंस है उनको पता चल जाए कि आपकी क्या मजबूरियात हैं और आप कब ऑर्डर को फिल कर सकते हैं. तो इन 3 केसेस में तो आप ज़रूर ऑर्डर को एक्नॉलेज करेंगे. लेकिन अगर आपके रूटीन के ऑर्डर्स हैं जो के रोलिंग बेसिस पे आते हैं तो आपको हर बार उस ऑर्डर को एक्नॉलेज करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. Now, in acknowledging orders, again, there are different sections. The first paragraph states the good news, and the good news, obviously, for the audience in this case would be that the order is being processed and the merchandise is on its way. जाहिर है अगर किसी ने आपसे कोई चीज़ ऑर्डर की है तो उनके लिए तो अच्छी खबर यही है कि आप उस ऑर्डर को पूरा कर सकते हैं और उनको जो भी उन्हें चीज़ ऑर्डर की है वो पहुंचा रहे हैं. तो ये तो आप अपने पहले पैराग्राफ में सबसे पहले ये स्टेट करेंगे क्योंकि ये गुड न्यूज़ है. दिस इज समथिंग दैट विल हैव अ पॉजिटिव इम्पैक्ट ऑन द रीडर. जब वो आपका मैसेज खोलेंगे तो वो यही देखना चाह रहे हैं कि आप उनका ऑर्डर फुलफिल कर सकते हैं. द मिडिल सेक्शन demonstrates the professionalism of your firm with a clear, accurate summary of the transaction, when the delivery may be expected, the cost of the merchandise, shipping and taxes, any problems that might have arisen, and perhaps your credit terms. जो भी डिटेल्स हैं, जो भी आपका ख्याल है कि चीज़ें ऐसी हैं जो कि ज़रूरी हैं आपके पढ़ने वाले को बताना, वो आप अब अपनी ये मिडिल सेक्शन में लिखेंगे. इससे आपकी कंपनी के प्रोफेशनलिज्म पता चलता है, कंपनी की थरोनेस पता चलती है कि आप कितने थरो हैं, कितनी डिटेलिंग में आप जाते हैं. और उससे जाहिर है आपके जो क्लाइंट हैं, कस्टमर हैं, उनको ये तसल्ली रहेगी कि आपकी हर चीज़ पे अच्छी ग्रिप है, that you are in command of the situation. An order acknowledgement frequently does a bit of selling in the middle or closing section. as well. पहले तो आपने मिडिल सेक्शन में सारी डिटेल्स दे दी कि ऑर्डर कब फिल आउट होगा, क्या क्या उसकी कॉस्ट होगी, क्या डिटेल्स होंगी, कहाँ से पिक करना है, एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा. कोई अगर प्रॉब्लम्स आपका ख्याल है कि हो सकती हैं आप, लेकिन मिडिल सेक्शन में ये भी कोशिश करेंगे कि थोड़ी सी आप अपनी सेल्स पिच भी दें, अपनी कंपनी को एक फेवरेबल, अपनी कंपनी को या अपने प्रोडक्ट का कोई फेवरेबल एस्पेक्ट आप पॉइंट आउट करें, या इसको आप मिडिल सेक्शन में कर सकते हैं या क्लोजिंग सेक्शन में कर सकते हैं. इस तरह इस इंफॉर्मेशन को आप रीसेल इंफॉर्मेशन कहते हैं. जाहिर है ऑर्डर आपको मिला हुआ है, सेल आप पूरी कर रहे हैं, लेकिन आप रीसेल इंफॉर्मेशन का ये मतलब है कि आप चाहते हैं कि आपको वो क्लाइंट दोबारा भी ऑर्डर दें, आप उनको कोई अपना जो प्रोडक्ट है वो दोबारा भी बेच सकें. तो आप इसी न्यूज़ में, इसी मैसेज में उस रीसेल की भी तैयारी करेंगे. सो दिस रीसेल इंफॉर्मेशन बोस्टर्स the customer's confidence. It raises the customer's confidence by pointing out the good points of a product or a company, by explaining how these good points will benefit the customer. उनको, अब पढ़ने वालों को एक तसल्ली हो जाती है कि जो हमने चीज़ खरीदी है वो सचमुच बहुत अच्छी है. आगे का भी ऑर्डर के लिए तैयारी हो जाती है, और जो उन्होंने ऑर्डर अभी किया है उसके भी उनको तसल्ली हो जाती है कि हमने सचमुच अच्छी चीज़ ही ऑर्डर की है, क्योंकि आपने अपने लेटर में भी उसके जो भी फेवरेबल पॉइंट्स हैं वो हाईलाइट कर दिए होंगे. Also, when you're acknowledging orders, you do a lot of sales promotion. You take advantage of the customer's obvious interest in your product. You can send along brochures or order blanks to make additional purchases easier. So this way you are, although the customer has ordered with your company, they are buying your products, you will also be promoting other products, and you can either attach brochures or include brochures in your mail, or even send an order form which they can fill out to order additional material. Effective resale and effective sales promotion demonstrates a very strong you attitude. We've talked about the you attitude before, that it's something that is very important in making your audience receptive to your message. Now let's have a look at an acknowledgement of an order, and we'll have a look at the different sections and see what function each section is performing, keeping in mind what we've talked about right now. As you see, in the first section, the message says you'll receive your Spanavision video cassette recorder in just over 2 weeks. Now in this is the main message, and it's stated clearly right at the start. इस पैगाम में सबसे शुरू में ही पता चल रहा है पढ़ने वाले को कि ये इसमें मैसेज क्या है, मेन चीज़ जो कि आप बताना चाह रहे हैं अपने पढ़ने वाले को वो क्या है. वो ये है कि उनने जो चीज़ ऑर्डर की है वो उनको 2 हफ्ते के अंदर अंदर मिल जाएगी. Now in the middle section, the writer is conveying the specific details of the order by saying, because you live in Massachusetts, you're exempt from the Illinois sales tax, so I'm enclosing a check for $26.15, the amount of the sales tax that you included in your payment. कोई भी जो भी डिटेल थी, अगर ऑर्डर के साथ कुछ आपने पैसे वापस करने हैं या कुछ मज़ीद पैसे मांगने हैं या जो भी एक उस ऑर्डर के साथ कोई एक्स्ट्रा इन्फॉर्मेशन या एक्स्ट्रा कोई बात आपने करनी है वो यहाँ मिडिल सेक्शन में की गई है. ऑल्सो द मिडिल सेक्शन इंक्लूड्स रीसेल एंड सेल्स प्रमोशन which builds on the customer's goodwill towards the product and the company. Let's have a look at how that's done. The writer says, Mr. Harmon, you're going to enjoy your new VCR day after day. It's quite versatile, and to make it even more so, you might want to add a remote control device. Wired and wireless models are pictured in the enclosed brochure. अब जैसे कि आपने देखा इस पार्ट में, यही मिडिल सेक्शन के जो कंटिन्यूएशन है, इसमें लिखने वाले ने ये तो साथ एक तो रीसेल की है, ये बताया है पढ़ने वाले को कि आप अपने वीसीआर को किस तरह एंजॉय करेंगे, क्योंकि जैसे कि आपको याद होगा ओपनिंग में उन्होंने लिखा था कि वो वीसीआर भेज रहे हैं, और अब वो बता रहे हैं कि ये वीसीआर कितना अच्छा है, ऑडियंस इसको क्यों एंजॉय करेगी, और साथ में अब वो उसका रिमोट कंट्रोल बेचने की भी बात कर रहे हैं जो कि इनिशियल ऑर्डर में नहीं इंक्लूडेड था, और वो उसका भी ब्रोशर उन्होंने भेज दिया है टू इनकरेज the reader to buy that. Also, the customer's name is mentioned as in a personal conversation to increase the feeling of friendliness. This using the person's name shows a more personal attitude towards the customer. It shows a more it shows a closer link between the writer and the reader. Now, in closing, the writer offers friendly, accessible help by saying, when your new VCR arrives, spend a few minutes with the user's manual. If you have any questions, call toll-free 1-800-441-6446 from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. weekdays, and then in brackets Central Standard Time. One of our expert staff members will be happy to help you. जैसे कि आपने देखा इस क्लोजिंग में उनने एक तो बहुत प्लेजेंट क्लोजिंग है. उन्होंने कहा है जब आपका आएगा वीसीआर आप उसको एंजॉय करें, और फिर भी अगर कोई प्रॉब्लम्स हों तो आप इस नंबर पे इन औकात के दरमियान फ़ोन करें. ये दिन हैं जिन पे आप फ़ोन कर सकते हैं, एंड वी विल बी हैप्पी टू हेल्प यू. So that's obviously a closing. It obviously rounds up all that has been said in the message. It's a farewell, and it's personal, and it offers help. It's personal, courteous, and helpful. Now, another form of routine messages could be when you're replying to requests for information and action. जो आपके पढ़ने वाले हैं उनने कोई आपको पहले ख़त लिखा हो या कोई इन्फॉर्मेशन मांगी हो फ़ोन पे या ईमेल पे या ख़त के ज़रिए, या कोई एक्शन दरकार हो उनको आपसे, और अब आप उसके जवाब में कोई अगर मैसेज लिखेंगे तो वो भी एक बहुत कॉमन फॉर्म है मैसेजेस लिखने का बिजनेस सिचुएशन में. Any request is important to the person making it, whether that person is inside the organization or outside it. So you have to deal with every request as if it was the most important request, because for the person who's making that request, it is the most important request for them at that point. The person's opinion of your company, your products, your department, and you yourself will be influenced by how promptly, graciously, and thoroughly the request is handled. जाहिर है अगर किसी ने आपसे एक रिक्वेस्ट की है, कोई इन्फॉर्मेशन मांगी है, या आपसे वो चाहते हैं कि आप कोई काम करें, अगर वो स्पेशली अगर वो आपको नहीं जानते, और अगर आपको जानते भी हैं तब भी आपके बारे में जो उनका ख्याल है, नज़रिया है, वो इसी चीज़ से मोल्ड होगा, शेप होगा या तब्दील होगा जिस प्रॉम्प्टनेस से, एफिशिएंसी से आप उनके पैगाम को डील करेंगे, हैंडल करेंगे. और अगर आप ग्रेशियसली उसको डील करेंगे तो जाहिर है वो आपको बेहतर समझेंगे और आपको एक बेहतर कंपनी या बिजनेसमैन समझेंगे. Now, obviously, it isn't always easy to comply with a request. There are many times when people make requests which are not very easy to fulfill. So, you need to keep that in mind as well. The information may not be immediately at hand. You may need to take some action that for which decisions need to be made at a higher level. So, you cannot always take the action yourself. You need to wait. So, you can't be prompt in responding. Also, you need to keep in mind that because a letter written on letterhead stationery is legally binding, you need to plan your response carefully as well. अब अगर आप अपने कंपनी के लेटरहेड पे या अपने लेटरहेड पे एक कोई ख़त लिख रहे हैं या कोई बात कर रहे हैं, तो वो एक लीगली बाइंडिंग डॉक्यूमेंट हो जाता है. इसलिए आप बहुत ख्याल रखें कि आप लेटरहेड के ऊपर क्या चीज़ लिख के दे रहे हैं. ज़बानी आप बात करें वो लीगली बाइंडिंग नहीं हो सकती, क्योंकि वो कहीं किसी कोर्ट ऑफ लॉ में ले जाके और पेश नहीं की जा सकती. लेकिन अगर आप अपने लेटरहेड पे कुछ लिख के दे रहे हैं तो वो आपको कोर्ट ऑफ लॉ में जा सकती है, आप सू के जा सकते हैं उस चीज़ पे. तो इसलिए यू नीड टू बी वेरी केयरफुल व्हाट यू राइटिंग ऑन लेटरहेड स्टेशनरी. So whatever response you're giving to routine requests for information or action, you need to be careful that you're actually giving out the correct information. Now, companies usually develop form responses to handle repetitive queries that are often similar. A lot of the times, companies if they are dealing with a specific product or a specific service, a lot of the times they will be getting specific types of queries. And then they develop templates or form responses to handle the same kind of those repetitive queries or messages. Basically इसमें होता ये है कि एक टेम्पलेट बना हुआ होता है या एक फॉर्म होता है जिसमें वो रेलेवेंट इन्फॉर्मेशन थोड़ी बहुत रद्द-बदल के साथ fill out करके वापस भेज देते हैं. Although form responses are often criticized as being cold and impersonal, much time and thought may go into wording them, and computers permit personalization and the mixing of paragraphs as well. So it makes a lot of sense to have form responses, and then you adapt them to the situation, and you can personalize them as well now in this age of computers. ज़रूरी नहीं है कि जो भी आप फॉर्म रिस्पॉन्स वापस भेजें वो न्यूट्रल हो. आप उसको आप जो शख्स हैं जिन्हें रिक्वेस्ट की है या जिन्हें इन्फॉर्मेशन मांगी है आप उनका नाम उसमें डाल सकते हैं. आप उसमें थोड़ी बहुत पैराग्राफ्स में भी रद्द-बदल कर सकते हैं ताकि जो रिक्वेस्ट थी उसके साथ आपका ज़्यादा डायरेक्ट रिस्पॉन्स हो जाए, ना कि एक वेग सा जनरल सा रिस्पॉन्स जाए. Now, when a potential sale is involved, then you need to use specific criteria. You need to use specific sales promotion techniques in the routine goodwill message that you're sending out. Prospective customers often request an annual report, a catalog, a brochure, a swatch of material, or some other type of sample or information to help them make a decision about the product that they have encountered through advertising. अगर आपकी कंपनी ऐसी है कि वो अपने प्रोडक्ट को एडवर्टाइज कर रही है और तो लोग उसको उस इश्तिहार को देख के बहुत इन्फॉर्मेशन मांगेंगे. वो आपकी कंपनी के बारे में आपकी एनुअल रिपोर्ट मांग सकते हैं, आपकी जो भी मटेरियल है उसका सैंपल मांग सकते हैं एक्सेट्रा, या उसके ब्रोशर्स मांग सकते हैं, उसके बारे में मजीद इन्फॉर्मेशन मांग सकते हैं. सो इन अ सोलिसिटेड सेल्स लेटर इन विच द कस्टमर इज एंटिसिपेटिंग that they will be getting something, you may use the direct plan. When answering requests involving a potential sale, you have three main goals. Number 1, to respond to the inquiry and answer all questions. Number 2, to encourage the future sale. And number 3, to leave your reader with a good impression of you and your firm. ये तीन चीज़ें ज़ाहिर है आप चाह रहे हैं कि आप कोई चीज़ बेचें या कोई अपनी सर्विस बेचें या कोई अपना प्रोडक्ट बेचें, तो फिर आपने ये तीन चीज़ें करनी हैं कि जो इंक्वायरी है उसको आप फ़ौरन रिस्पॉन्ड करें और जो उसमें सवालात पूछे गए हैं उनको बेहतरीन तरीके से उनका जवाब दें. नंबर 2, कोई भी आप अपने पढ़ने वाले को इनकरेज करें कि वो आपका प्रोडक्ट या आपकी सर्विस ख़रीदें. एंड नंबर 3, आप इस तरह अपना मैसेज लिखें कि आपके पढ़ने वाले पे आपका और आपकी कंपनी का फेवरेबल इम्प्रेशन पड़े. Now let's have a look at a message where a potential sale is involved, and we again, as in the previous example, we're going to break down the message in different sections and talk about each section separately. In the introduction or the beginning, the writer says, here's the copy of Brightening Your Kitchen that you recently requested. Now this is a clear conversational statement of the main point, and that's all that's required to start off the message. It's not very formal. There is a reference to what was requested, but there is no lengthy reference to the previous communication. It doesn't start off by saying with reference to your letter or request dated ... You basically starting off very directly. You're mentioning that the audience had requested this material, and the audience obviously, the reader obviously knows that they requested it. So they won't be surprised when they receive your message. After this, you present the key information by saying, as beautiful as the full color photographs are, you really need to inspect right tiles in person. Only then can you fully appreciate the sparkling colors, designer patterns, and overall quality. Baywood Hardware, 313 Front Street is in Clear Lake, is the nearest outlet carrying bright tiles. Now, here you're giving the key information, you've given the address of the local store that carries the merchandise, and all this information is presented immediately after the opening. After this, you give a reference to more specific information by saying something like, from antique Victorian to sleek contemporary, bright tiles will help you achieve just the look you want. Spend a few moments now with the handy chart the right pattern for your decor on page 6 of the enclosed booklet, then you'll know which patterns to look for when you visit B.ed Hardware. Now, this reference to a specific page further emphasizes the benefits of the product. This suggestion also encourages the reader to take one more step towards the actual purchase. पहले तो उन्होंने बताया कि ये टाइल्स कहाँ मिलेंगी और उन्होंने कहा कि हमने ब्रोशर दिया है. अब उस ब्रोशर में भी वो पर्टिकुलर पेज को भी रेफर कर रहे हैं कि आप जरा और देखें, क्योंकि ये भी हो सकता है कि जो पढ़ने वाले हैं वो ब्रोशर को सरसरी तौर पे देख के और रख दें, साइड पे रख दें और फिर शायद जाएं टाइल खरीदने या ना जाएं. लेकिन इस तरह उनने स्पेसिफिक एक पैटर्न को, स्पेसिफिक प्रोडक्ट को एम्फसाइज किया है, पेज नंबर बताया है कि कहाँ ये मिलेगा, और फिर दोबारा से उन्होंने कहा, ये हिंट किया है कि आप B.ed हार्डवेयर स्टोर पे जाएंगे तो आपको ये चीज़ें पसंद आएंगी. इट्स बेसिकली अर्जिंग द कस्टमर टू एक्चुअली टेक द स्टेप टुवर्ड्स गोइंग टू द हार्डवेयर स्टोर एंड ऑर्डरिंग more tiles. Now we have in front of us a personal close which confidently points towards the possible sale. In this, the writer is confident now that the reader will actually buy the product by saying, Mrs. Riaz, if you have any questions before or during installation, please phone our toll-free services hotline 1-800 whatever the number is. You will get easy to understand answers every time. Now, by referring to the fact that they might have questions during installation, the writer is assuming that the reader has actually bought the product. जाहिर है जब प्रोडक्ट खरीदा है तभी उसको इंस्टॉल करा रहे हैं. अब ये नोट करें कि इनने ख़त में तो अपने प्रोडक्ट को भी प्रमोट ही कर रहे हैं, लेकिन उन्होंने पहले ही क्लोजिंग में साथ ये लिख दिया है कि आप जब ये प्रोडक्ट खरीद लेंगे और इसको इंस्टॉल करेंगे तब आप ये कीजिएगा, अगर आपको कोई प्रॉब्लम्स हो तो आप हमारे नंबर को फ़ोन कीजिएगा. तो वो पहले से ही अज्यूम कर रहे हैं कि वो प्रोडक्ट खरीद लिया जाएगा. नाउ दिस इज़ अ वेरी इफेक्टिव स्ट्रैटेजी फॉर सेलिंग because it shows the reader that you are actually confident in your product and you know that your product is so good that the reader will buy it. Now another type of message could be where no potential sale is involved. अभी तो हमने देखे हैं कि ऐसा मैसेज कैसे लिखते हैं जहाँ कोई सेल इन्वॉल्व हो, आप कुछ बेचना, आप किसी चीज़ किसी रिक्वेस्ट का जवाब दे रहे हैं जहाँ आपकी कोई सेल भी हो सके. लेकिन ऐसे भी मैसेजेस होंगे जहाँ कोई सेल का चांस नहीं है, कुछ आपने बेचना नहीं है. एंड देन देयर आर टू एसेंशियल गोल्स व्हेन यू आर राइटिंग अ मैसेज वेयर नो सेल इज इन्वॉल्व. यू आर देन either you're responding to a request and also you are leaving a favorable impression of your company or you're fostering a good working relationship. तो ये दोनों चीज़ें आपने, जबकि हमने जहाँ सेल इन्वॉल्व थी वहाँ तो जाहिर है एक मेन पर्पज़ ये भी था कि आपके पढ़ने वाले आपके प्रोडक्ट को ख़रीदें. इधर ये पर्पज़ नहीं है कि आपका प्रोडक्ट बिके, लेकिन हाँ ये पर्पज़ ज़रूर है कि आपके जो कंपनी का इम्प्रेशन है वो अच्छा पड़े पढ़ने वाले पे और आपकी और उनकी एक वर्किंग रिलेशनशिप बेहतर डेवलप हो. और जाहिर है जो उन्होंने रिक्वेस्ट की है उसको तो आप रिस्पॉन्ड कर ही रहे हैं. नाउ responding favorably to claims and adjustment requests also needs tact, diplomacy. As anyone in business knows, customers sometimes return merchandise to a company. They complain about its services, ask to be compensated, etc. Such complaints are golden opportunities for companies to build customer loyalty. अगर आपको अनफॉर्चुनेटली अपने प्रोडक्ट के बारे में कोई कंप्लेंट आए, जो कि आनी नहीं चाहिए, जाहिर आपका प्रोडक्ट इतना अच्छा होना चाहिए कि उसके बारे में कोई कंप्लेंट ना आए, लेकिन अगर किसी वजह से कोई कंप्लेंट आए तो फिर ये एक बहुत अच्छी अपॉर्चुनिटी होती है एक कंपनी के लिए कि वो अपने कस्टमर्स के साथ अपनी रिलेशनशिप को बेहतर करें. क्योंकि जाहिर है अगर वो उस कंप्लेंट को ठीक से डील नहीं करेंगे तो आगे फ्यूचर में वो कस्टमर जो है वो उनके पास वापस नहीं आएगा. The most sensible reaction is to assume that the customer's account of the transaction is an honest statement of what happened. Now obviously if the customer is telling you something, they're saying that we bought this product at this time, this particular place, and this is what happened, this is what is wrong with it, then you need to assume that what they're saying is correct. Unless the same customer repeatedly submits dubious claims or suspicious claims, a customer or they are patently dishonest, returning, if for example they're trying to return merchandise that has obviously been used, or they're trying to return a dress that has been worn and then they're saying that it's the wrong size, that's why they want to return it, or something like that. Or if the amount of money that is involved is very large, you will not question the claim of the customer. अगर तो जाहिर है आपको सचमुच लग रहा है कि ये तो बिल्कुल ही गलत बात कर रहे हैं, बिल्कुल ही झूठ बोल रहे हैं, जो ये चीज़ रिटर्न करना चाह रहे हैं बिल्कुल ठीक है और ये इसको रिटर्न करें, या इनने इस्तेमाल करके अब रिटर्न कर रहे हैं जबकि इसमें कोई ख़राबी भी नहीं है, या ये कि बहुत ज़्यादा पैसे इन्वॉल्व हैं, बहुत बड़ा अमाउंट इन्वॉल्व है. इसके अलावा आप अगर ये चीज़ें नहीं हैं तो फिर आप जो भी कस्टमर कह रहा है आप उसको एक फेस वैल्यू ले लेंगे, क्योंकि उस प्रोडक्ट को रिप्लेस करने में आपका कम नुकसान होगा लेकिन क्लाइंट को लूज करने में आपका ज़्यादा नुकसान होगा. बिकॉज यू नीड टू रिमेंबर that once a complaint is made, customers may come to view the original transaction as less important than the events that come after the complaint. So they might forget how you dealt with them when you were actually selling the product, but they will remember how you dealt with them when you dealt with the complaint. So you need to be very careful in how you deal with that complaint. To protect your company's image and to regain your customers' goodwill, refer to your company's errors very carefully. Don't blame an individual or a specific department, and also avoid lame excuses such as nobody's perfect or mistakes will happen, because these will not really give a very good image of your company. It will try to show that it will show that you're trying to just brush off the error that happened. Also, don't promise that problems will never happen again. Such guarantees are unrealistic and often beyond your control. If obviously a problem has arisen with the product, it was not deliberate, it was beyond your control and your company's control. So don't make firm promises that it will never happen again, but explain your company's efforts to do a good job, because in doing this, you imply that the error was an unusual incident. A letter shows us how such a complaint has been dealt with. Your letter about the golden harvest canned fruit you recently purchased has been forwarded to our Vice President of Operations for review. We are pleased that you took the time to write. Your satisfaction is important to us. Since 1906, Golden Harvest has been packaging fine food products. Our workers and inspectors monitor quality carefully using the most up-to-date technology, but we want to do an even better job. Your letter will help us do just that. The next time you shop, use the enclosed half-price coupon to pick up a gift box set of Golden Harvest holiday spices. This coupon, which will be honored wherever our fine specialty products, foods are sold, is our way of thanking you for your interest in our products. The writer has not directly laid blame on anybody. They have not said that we are not packaging it, somebody else is packaging it, that's why there was a problem. But what they're saying is that we have made the best efforts to monitor the quality of the product, and the way of apologizing is that they have enclosed a coupon for through which the customer will get their products discounted or free. Now, while this is a very clever way of actually promoting their own product, even though they're dealing with the complaint, because by giving a coupon for an alternative product by the same company, the company is actually introducing the reader to their new product. The complaint was about canned goods or fruits, and now they've given a coupon for spices. तो जिनने अभी उस कंपनी के स्पाइसेस नहीं भी खरीदे, उनको एक बार वो मुफ्त सैंपल दे देंगे, और फिर जाहिर है वो इसीलिए दे रहे हैं कि शायद आगे उसको वो खरीदें. It exemplifies the following points. It's a form letter. Now this kind of a form letter is sent to people with various types of requests or complaints with minor adjustments. It's the same format of the letter that they would be using for different complaints of different products of the company. They will just change the name of the product. And it cannot start with a clear good news statement, because various customers are seeking various types of good news. So they've started directly with what the problem is. It starts what might be called a good attitude statement, which is the you-oriented attitude to put the customer at ease. Also, at no time does the letter suggest that the customer was mistaken in questioning the quality of the product? They don't say कि नहीं आपको गलती हुई होगी हमारा product तो ठीक है. They're not questioning the customer's judgment at all. Also, however, they are not even admitting to any defect in the product. अपनी भी गलती नहीं वो मान रहे, ये भी नहीं कह रहे कि हमारा प्रोडक्ट डिफेक्टिव है, लेकिन वो कस्टमर को भी झूठा नहीं कह रहे. They are just accepting what the customer has said and not commenting on it, but going on to more positive news. The middle explanatory section nicely combines the old and the new. It says Golden Harvest has been doing business for almost 100 years, but its equipment is thoroughly modern. This explanation of the company's quality control may restore the reader's confidence in the product. So if the reader feels that the company is very old and the technology that they're using might be old, by saying something like this, the company is actually saying that although we are old, the technology we're using is very modern, and the 100 years of experience is actually adding to our quality rather than taking away from it. Also, the letter closes with some resale and sales promotion, and this resale and sales promotion is made personal by the use of you and your by these pronouns. Now, obviously, if you get an adjustment letter like this, you are also likely to respond very favorably to it. So when you're writing an adjustment letter like this, you can be sure that your clients will also respond favorably to you. A claim letter written as a personal answer to a unique situation would start with a clear statement of good news, the settling of claim according to the customer's request. Now, however, a claim letter written as a personal answer to a unique situation, ये तो हमने जो देखी ये तो एक standard situation थी, but there could be times when the request or the complaint could be unique, and then the claim letter would not be in a format, but it would be more personal. So such a letter would start with a clear statement of the good news and then talk about the settling of the claim according to the customer's request. Let's have a look at an example. In just a few days, you'll receive a new factory-tested electronic metric scale to replace the one you returned. Thanks for giving us the opportunity to back up our claim of total buyer satisfaction. Now, if you saw in this reply, the writer is, again, although they are telling the customer what it is that the customer will get, they're also thanking them because the customer has pointed out a problem with the company, and also in the close they are pointing to their policy of total customer satisfaction, again saying something positive about themselves as a company, although they are responding to a complaint. Now, another type of message could be when you're approving credit. If you're working for a company or if you're working in a situation where you need to approve credit for your customers, then you need to keep in mind that handling routine credit requests is important, because customers often carry a wallet full of plastic credit cards, and businesses of all sizes operate more smoothly because they can pay for their purchases over time. A lot of the times in this day and age, a lot of transactions are not made by handing cash immediately at the time of the sale. A lot of the work is done over credit or through credit cards. Letters approving credit are good news messages, and the first step in what may be maybe decades long of a business relationship. So if you're writing a credit letter or you're writing a letter approving credit, then you're obviously giving out good news to your client. Here you need to open your letter with the main idea. In the middle section, you will include a reasonably full statement of the credit agreements. What are the upper limits of the account, the dates that the bills are sent, possible arrangements for partial monthly payments, discounts for prompt payments, interest charges for unpaid balances, due dates, etc. Any details that might be relevant. When you're giving the details, you will state the terms positively and objectively, not negatively or in an authoritarian manner. Instead of saying something like your credit balance cannot exceed $5,000 or 50,000 rupees, you will write, with our standard credit account, you can order up to $5,000 worth of fine merchandise. It's the same, it means the same thing, but you're putting the message positively instead of negatively. Another example could be, instead of saying we expect your payment within 30 days of receipt of our statement, you will say payment is due 30 days after you receive our statement. Also, when you're approving credit, the final section of the letter provides resale information and sales promotion, highlighting the benefits of buying from you. Let's have a look at a letter that was written both to approve credit and to bring in customers. It says, welcome aboard. Here's your new ship-to-shore credit card, which will make shopping at Conrad's even easier than before. Now you can make credit purchases up to a total of $100,000 or $1,000 or whatever the amount you want to name. Now this is a good news opening and it gets right to the point. So depending on the purpose of your routine message, the function that you wish it performs, you will tailor the opening accordingly. You will include necessary details, and obviously then you will have a closing, preferably something which makes possible a future sale and also resells what you are selling, or what your the product that the customer already has ordered. In this lecture, we learned to decide when to write a routine good news, goodwill messages, and what type of message to write depending on the situation. We also learned how to adjust the basic organizational pattern, which was the 3 different sections of a letter that we looked at, and how to arrange that, how to organize that to fit whatever type of message you are writing. We also learned how to add resale and sales promotion when writing, because that is something that is important for the image of your company, for the sales of your company, and for the success of your company. We also learned how to encourage the reader to take desired action by using a positive note, by ending on a positive note, and on a confident note as well. We also talked about how to write credit approval letters, and also the correct form for such specialized messages as instructions, news releases, and goodwill letters. We also learned how to write credit approval letters and how to phrase the terms and conditions of those so that they come across positively rather than negatively or in an authoritarian manner. With this, we come to the end of today's lecture on writing routine good news, goodwill messages. Until next time, Allah Hafiz.